Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so new Battleground season is almost upon us. We do have X number of hours before it begins, season 19, and we need to take a look at the MVPs for Victory Track in particular, as well as basically Gladiator Circuit weeks 1 and 2, because the metas are hardly any different, with the only addition of there being explosive personality, which will only limit a couple of champions in their playstyle, basically. So, this meta is going to be Nuki, without a doubt. Because effectively there's nothing really slowing you down, aside from some armor ups, which, dot bypasses, bursts of damage bypass, as well as all the critical hits basically bypass that. So that's not going to slow anyone down much. On top of that, those are buffs that will and can be used for Mystic champions to fuel Mystic dispersion. And then there are nodes significantly enhancing Cosmic attackers' damage with armor breaks. So as an end result, this is going to be one hell of a fast meta as well. So we are going to take a look at the MVPs for it. And obviously we're going to start with the Cosmic class itself, since only thing you have to do is parry a handful of times to basically supercharge Galen. I think Galen's going to be making a comeback without doubt, because he's going to be more potent offensively and also in a clinch defensively, because he will be gaining buffs whenever opponent blocks or tries to parry Galen, so he's going to be harder to fight against. And obviously, when you're going to be using him in offense, you're just going to have to parry the opponent and basically supercharge him much faster than you normally would. Another champion with crazy good interaction is Thor, because Thor does have some abilities that not many people are aware of, but for all attacks, once again, he does have basically significantly increased amount of damage the lower your opponent's armor rating is. And that for each feeder buff active, additional armor penetration, no, but he will definitely significantly benefit from those extra armor breaks in order to supercharge his damage like absolutely crazy. Right. And then, because of the nodes, and we're going to break them down again, so Cosmic Attacker light attacks have a 50% chance to armor break the defender, reducing their armor rating by 20% for 10 seconds. If it was critical, it is 100%. So basically, you will be inflicting quite few armor breaks on your opponent, getting rid of these defensive transference armors, where the defender gains a permanent armor up buff, increasing armor rating by 10% per stack whenever the attacker blocks one of their attacks. And this is where things can get extremely interesting with champions like Serpent, because Serpent does have massive amount of damage associated with his level 2 based on opponent's armor rating. Now, since Serpent is a Cosmic champion, you will primarily be trying to land medium-mediums, medium-light mediums, and just get to level 2. And that level 2, in theory, should nuke just about everything. So in next meta, Serpent will not only be an absolute monster on the defense, as he always has been, but also a great offensive choice. And then we're going to have generic Cosmic champions that typically do well tearing through the opponents, like Venom, like CGR, like Corvus Glaive, because of all of his crits. Even Hyperion should be more potent, as well as Hulkling, definitely Hercules with his prowesses, further enhancing his damage. That is going to be a massive part of this meta, where Cosmic attackers effectively have to be reined in. Therefore, we're going to automatically be looking at Mystic champions as natural enemies, like the Predators of the Cosmic class. And one of the important things coming from that will be the armor break immunity. For instance, champions like Absman, champions like Dr. Doom, champions like Sasquatch, champions like Rintra, not armor break immune, but kind of Man-Thing, fully armor break immune. So defenders with armor break immunity and some sort of nullify immunity will definitely be playing a crucial role here. And I kind of expect Mystic to be the most dominant class overall, because if with Cosmic champions there aren't that many dual threat options to begin with, then with Mystic class, they do have them. And Mystic class will also be significantly powered up by the existence of those armor buffs, thus fueling all the neutralizers, fueling all the nullifies, and everything else that they can get their hands on, throwing a ton of special attacks. Like, for instance, with Juggernaut, every time you block a hit, you give yourself a buff that you can nullify, and you get quicker to the level 2s. Scarlet Witch, You block a hit, opponent gets an armor up, you nullify that, you steal it for yourself, you get those buffs, and then you just destroy everything. Against Sasquatch, things to stagger. For Man-Thing, things to nullify. I'm strongly considering ranking up a Man-Thing for this. Longshot as well as a dual threat champion is going to be significantly more potent, because especially if Longshot's decently high sig, every time you parry, you're going to have a chance to nullify that buff, replace it with bad karma, supercharge your power gain. So Mystic class is my pick for actually the secret MVP. I know that the buff, the arm breaks, bolster up Cosmic Champions. I just think that in reality, it's going to end up being helping more the Mystic Champions by giving a buff to Nullify. And that said, since I'm expecting Cosmics and Mystics to be so dominant, that automatically leads us to the Science class, which should be the stronger defensive class here, because neither Cosmic or Mystic Champions are that potent against Science champs defensively to begin with. And then on top of it, we have champions like the Thing, who is armor break immune. We obviously have Titania, who is buff immune. Therefore, opponents will not be able to gain extra benefits from armor breaking her, and she's quite tanky. We're going to have Photon, obviously always providing problems, especially the Mystic champions. We're going to have champions like Scorpion, who are good dual threats, and just some generic Science nukes as well to nuke some of those Mystic champions that will serve as dual threats. Then moving on further, I think skill class is relatively fine. They're going to be, again, represented by the top options of the class. Obviously, Bullseye for melee and defense. Kingpin could be a presence as well. Nick Fury is definitely going to be around there. I think Atuma and Korg both could do well. So will Moleman, and obviously Kate is one of the more potent Battlegrounds attackers. Moving in the mutant class, I don't think this is going to be a particularly great meta for mutants, but again, that could be quite wrong, because if there is one class that is the most hindered by the nodes, that's going to be tech class. Because naturally, if Kabam is empowering Cosmic Champions, that means a significant hit to the tech champions, and if so many more champions have easy access to armor break, that means tech champions will have to take a step back, because a lot of their abilities do rely on armor up buffs, which now significantly more champions will be able to easily get rid of and turn that into an extra damage. So the tech champions that I do kind of expect to see are the ones that don't really rely on their armor up buffs to begin with, something like Shocker, something like Nimrod, for instance, because armor breaks do not remove his armor ups, and those are neutral. I think Fam could be present there as well, Prowler. But those will primarily, I think, be offensive champions chosen to counter the mutants. Because obviously we're still not going to escape the mutants at large. We have a ton of rank 3 high sig dominos running around. We have a ton of onslaughts running around. And we're still going to see, bishops and whatnots around, in my opinion, as well. Obviously, there will be quite a lot of tweaking necessary to see how this meta really plays out. Because for most part, as I said in the beginning, this is a free-for-all meta. There's nothing really limiting use of virtually, any champions. There are few that you will probably want to avoid. Something like Havoc, for instance, will not be able to do too much in these metas, and some others. But in general, I think it's just going to be one of those metas where you take your highest ranked champions, rank up some of the champions that you see in this list that are not here, like for instance, Galen, I think is definitely going to be crucial. Some of the other Cosmics, some of the Mystics, you definitely want to be present. And then you should be able to do just fine. Obviously, the biggest accent will have to be placed on weeks 3 and 4 meta, which is going to be a completely different deal then, because it's going to be absolutely random. It's going to be very hard time figuring out what are, in fact, the best options for week 3 and 4 because of the absolute randomness. So I do expect that job to be much harder. But yeah, for Cosmic Shatter, ironically, I do expect Mystics to be the most crucial champions alongside Science, in order to slow down both Mystics and those Cosmics that we have mentioned. So that will be just about it for the metas or meta predictions here. There is one more champion that I forgot, but I do want to mention. I almost finished the video without mentioning that, and it is Destroyer. Because Destroyer has some interesting abilities, which is Rubble. on the opponent, reducing rubble. When opponent gains a buff while attacking the destroyer's block, destroy one of the newest buffs and replace it with rubble. This is going to be a crucial ability. So I do think Destroyer is going to be a very good defender as well as attacker, because obviously the Destroyer is immune to armor break and slow and poison and bleed, so that's going to make him, you know, a very solid option on defense too. And then Destroyer will also be getting rid of all the armor ups offensively and replacing them with rubble and fueling his own abilities, because it's technically not a nullify, he just replaces the armor buff with the rubble buff as he's blocking, because opponent will be gaining those armor ups as you block their hits. And that means, yeah, there should be some very, very interesting interactions here with the Destroyer. So a special shout out to the Destroyer. Very eager to see how he does here. And also a shout out to Aunt May in general, because finally we do have Aunt May update with all the newest champions, which is awesome. Right, that's it for now. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about